Venus lines in astrocartography tend to be lovely, pleasant, beneficial places that bring beautiful experiences around love and money and relationships. But how exactly does this manifest differently on a Venus IC line versus where a Venus line crosses a Mercury line? And can there be negative manifestations of a Venus line? The answer is yes. We'll talk about all this, plus Venus AC, DC, MC, and IC lines, and the broader themes that you may find occurring in your life based on being on a Venus line in general. But before we begin, hey everyone, my name is Montana with astrologyforbabes.com, where we talk about astrocartography, astrology, synastry, and other topics related to spirituality to enlighten curious minds. I do offer readings, so feel free to check the link out in the description box below. But today I'm here to talk about Venus lines and astrocartography. So as we know, astrocartography is a subdivision of astrology where, very simply put, we look at your natal birth chart and we map it out longitudinally and latitudinally across a global map in order to find out the best and most impactful places for you around the globe. Astrocartography can help answer questions like, will the energy of a particular area be supportive towards finding a passionate love or community where you'll be able to grow through learning and education through your friends, or a place where a career in law might thrive? Or instead, will you be actively working against energies that are objectively difficult or destabilizing or isolating in some way based on your particular natal chart and what to do about it? It's important to remember that in astrocartography, looking at planetary lines like a Venus line is really only scratching the tip of the iceberg as far as accurately predicting what energies a location is likely to have in store for you. So to be more accurate, in addition to checking out your planetary lines, you want to employ more techniques and look at your map through different lenses. So you're going to want to look at the condition of your natal chart. You're going to want to look at the relocated chart for the area. And you may even want to look at local space lines, current astrological transits, etc. But if you're simply looking to understand Venus lines, then this video is an excellent place to start. So let's get started. So let's begin by talking about Venus in astrology, because so much of astrocartography starts and ends with astrology. In astrology, Venus represents pleasant things. Things we enjoy, things we like, things we value, sensual delights, honey, sugar. These are things that kind of come to mind when I think of Venus. They're very Venusian in nature. Things like money and finances. Venus likes to spend money. Venus likes to make money. Relationships, romantic and platonic in nature, especially with women or feminine people. Harmony. Venus also represents harmony, so our ability or our inclination to keep the peace. And aesthetic. Venus is our sense of style. Venus is what's beautiful to us. In a man's chart, or someone who is more masculine in nature, you can look to their Venus sign to see what type of woman they like. So for example, if this person's Venus is in Pisces, they may be most naturally attracted to a woman who's sweet and gentle, empathetic, maybe very creative, maybe even a little more passive. Versus if this person's Venus is in Leo, they might like someone who's more regal, who commands respect with their beauty, someone with a gorgeous mane of hair, Leo, right? Someone who's poised and classic and bold. So that's how that can reflect. In a woman's chart, or someone who dates masculine people, their Venus sign describes how they go about wooing the person that they're attracted to. So if a woman's Venus is in Scorpio, they may be very intense about their attraction. They may zero in, they may try to attract someone using their own sex appeal, or they could be very obsessive when in love. They are very all or nothing when it comes to the object of their affection. Venus in Scorpios, you know I'm right. So when you think about things like aesthetics and beauty and grace and harmony and even money, which zodiac signs come to mind? Libra, maybe, who is so socially poised. Taurus, who is sensual and great with money, really values money. Either of those signs would be correct because Venus actually rules both Taurus and Libra. Wherever Venus is in your chart can show where you are naturally gifted with a talent, or an area of your life through which you're naturally able to generate money, or where beauty is somehow a focus. So for example, if you have Venus conjunct your ascendant in your first house natally, which governs your personality, your appearance, and even the way that you dress, you probably have great facial beauty or are known to be a very nice and pleasant person who's very charming. You're probably great with people as well. Venus in the 10th house of career and occupation might mean that your career is very centered around your good looks or your aesthetics, like being a hairdresser or being a makeup artist or even being a plastic surgeon. Venus in the 2nd house, which governs your finances, could mean that you like to spend your money on aesthetically pleasing things like jewelry or crystals or art or clothing. The 2nd house also governs your throat, so Venus in the 2nd could bestow you with a pretty singing voice as well. So all of these things are going to help us understand what to expect when dealing with Venus lines in astrocartography, because all of these things could come into play. So now let's talk about the general themes that may become highlighted in one's life when they are on a Venus line. Taking cues from the astrological signifiers that I just went over, in astrocartography, Venus lines tend to be pretty fun, pleasurable places where money flows into your life a little bit more easily and life gets a little bit more sweet. One thing a person might experience on a Venus line is that of easier relationships. Venus brings harmony, so you may find that it's easier to make friends when you're on a Venus line, especially with women or feminine people. Your conversations with others might go more smoothly as well, so there could be less tension in relationships with family or with women in your life again. You could just feel more accepted just by being you, which means that dating even might go more easily. So your relationships really get this pleasant boost. You also might want to take a look at your natal chart though, because let's just say if Pluto is squaring your Venus from the 8th house, this could add some intensity or power dynamics to your relationships on a Venus line, which may not be entirely pleasant. Another thing you might experience when you're on a Venus line is this theme of finances coming to the forefront of your life. If you're looking to make more money, a Venus line could bring wealth into your life more easily. Starting a business could go more smoothly on a Venus line. Promotions could come in more easily. If you work in sales, you might love a Venus line. If you're able to locate a place where a Venus line crosses with a Jupiter line, also known as a crossing point or a paran, this is typically a very beneficial place for finances. Super beneficial when it comes to business dealings, okay? So Venus lines in general tend to improve finances, and money tends to be more of a natural fit when you're on your Venus line. Another common theme that comes into play on Venus lines is that of beauty. Beautiful homes, gorgeous social experiences, maybe going to more concerts or more shows, finding out that this really pretty rose garden is just a few blocks from your apartment, stumbling into pretty cafes that are in line with your particular aesthetic. So if you like that gothic look, maybe you could find a lot of bars with dark red walls or velvet seats, things that delight your senses. You could also find that you're more interested in things like fashion or makeup, and you could finally find a look that really complements your bone structure and boosts your confidence, making you feel, again, a greater sense of beauty. Or beauty could even show up through your friend group. So having a bunch of pretty friends or joining organizations that are themed around like girlfriends and community, you may just find in general that your life becomes more aesthetically pleasing when you're on the Venus line. So those are the major general themes of Venus lines: smoother relationships, finances, and beauty. You're likely to experience one or more of these themes when you're on a Venus line. So now let's talk about when a Venus line hits those 4 very important parts in your birth chart: the AC, DC, IC, and MC. And again, you do want to think about where Venus is in your natal chart and what's it doing. So what aspects that it's making to Saturn, for example, if any, which could add delays or disappointments or restrictions to your relationships, or to your moon for your emotional landscape, to get a better picture of how these energies of a Venus line are likely to play out for you personally. And also, leave me a comment. Let me know what comes up for you. Have you been to a Venus line before? Are you planning to visit one? I would love to hear about your experiences on a Venus line, so please leave me a comment below. And lastly, before we get started, one quick thing to let you know is that you actually do not need to live directly on a Venus line in order to feel its energetic influence. You can be about 100 miles in either direction of the Venus line and still be under the area of influence energetically. So keep that in mind, because people typically want to live near a Venus line as opposed to avoiding it, unlike some other lines. So let's go ahead and start with a Venus MC line. So in your personal natal chart, your MC or your midheaven is the highest, most visible point in your chart, and it can show your professional persona and how you are perceived from a professional standpoint. It's your kind of like career brand, your professional brand, if you will. So Venus MC lines are going to bring this theme of either beauty or finances to your public persona. So if you work in a Venusian field like fashion, or if you are a photographer, if you do graphic design or interior design or plastic surgery, if your job is to leave something more beautiful than when you first found it, then you may find that your career flourishes on a Venus MC line. If you want to get paid to be beautiful, this line could be for you as well. So influencers or people who want to monetize their beauty or their appearance, great place. People do find often that it's easier to make money on a Venus MC line. So this could be just through getting lucky as far as getting hired at a job, or finding that once you are hired, the path to promotions, aka more money, is easier. This could be especially true, for example, if in your natal chart you have Venus in the 6th trining your 10th house, okay? So again, this is how the natal chart could come into play on a Venus MC line. If you want to work with women, Venus MC lines also support this really nicely. So you could become known for starting a women's rights nonprofit, for example, or becoming a therapist who specializes in care for women. So I would say on a Venus MC line, your profession may become a source of beauty or wealth for you. Venus IC lines, on the other hand, tend to bring beauty into the home, okay? IC lines in astrocartography represent your home, your family, your lineage, and your sense of safety. So you may find that you are called to nest, to spend more time and money on making your home a beautiful, aesthetically pleasing place that brings you pleasure and fills you with joy. So buying pillows, buying art, bringing that into the home, really making the home a soft and sensual place that really makes you want to tap into your inner divine feminine. Or let's say bringing plants and crystals like amethyst or tiger's eye into your home that reflect a more earthy definition of beauty, right? So it all depends on your chart, the way this beauty in the home may manifest. Since women are represented by Venus as well, you could find that you develop an interest in hosting parties from the home, or having fun girls' nights, or having dinner parties, or maybe your home becomes the spot where your friend groups like to hang before a night's out. So just bringing women into the home could be another theme. Venus IC lines also make it easier to make money from the home and through the home. So starting a profitable work from home business, for example, like a blog or an online store, very Venusian, a women's coaching business. Doing anything that you make money from your home is going to be supported. Landing a really nice work from home job. Interior design professionals would love a Venus IC line, as well as real estate brokers. You may also find that your relationship with women in your family improve as well on a Venus IC line. So you and your sister could reconnect in a way that feels really pleasant, or you could decide to talk to your mom more frequently and FaceTime with her. This is another way the energy of a Venus IC line could manifest. So in summary, Venus IC lines bring that Venusian energy of money and aesthetics into the home in a pleasant way. Venus AC lines might just be my favorite line. So AC lines really help a person embody the energy of that planetary line. So on a Venus AC line, you could experience a lot of pleasant benefits. You yourself could feel more Venusian, more pretty, more beautiful, especially if you are a Libra rising or a Taurus rising. This will be like coming home, baby, okay? And even if you aren't, you could still find that people in general find your particular brand of beauty to be more appealing when you're on a Venus AC line. You could also begin to feel prettier through an interest in makeup or fashion, which really helps your outer beauty reflect the beauty that's already inside of you. And people take notice of this confidence. And it's just like this nice little Venusian feedback loop, which can be really pleasant. If you aren't used to getting more attention, this could potentially feel more uncomfortable. Or similarly, if you're on a Venus Chiron Piran, for example, or if you have Chiron in the first house, this could potentially help you heal a wound that you have natally around self-worth or around beauty standards. So this could be nice and healing through that lens as well. You could also find yourself attracting Venusian experiences. So again, stumbling into pretty cafes, I think I used that example earlier, or just getting more joy out of your local surroundings. This could also be one of those lines where if you work in a Venusian field, you could really enjoy this energy. So massage therapists or even models, Venus AC lines are great places for these roles, or to finally feel that push to step into these roles from another career. Similarly to Venus DC lines, which we'll talk about in a second, dating and romance could also improve here. So you may find yourself attracting these very charming suitors, or really that money even flows towards you a bit more easily than when you're not on a Venus AC line. So I feel like overall Venus AC lines kind of give you the best of all the Venus line worlds, which is why they're my favorite. Lastly, let's talk about Venus DC lines. So, on a Venus DC line, your relationships are likely to smoothen out, okay? They're likely to improve or get a bit of a supercharge. So, if you are single and you move to a Venus DC line, you may not be single for long because you're going to bring this Venusian energy of harmony and beauty and romance to your one on one relationships. And this is one of those lines where you could find a potential future spouse, especially if you have, say, the North Node in your seventh house natally, or if you're on a Venus nodal axis peron, for example, this could bring the idea of fated romance into play more. If you work one-on-one with clients, you are likely to attract more clients or attract wealthier clients who maybe spend more per transaction, or for your relationship business to become more lucrative in some way. If you want to grow your friendships, especially with women, Venus AC lines are supportive of platonic friendships as well. Okay, so you could have lots of fun and pleasurable times with your friends and really feel supported and held by a good network of women. Especially if you're on, say, a Moon Venus peron, for example, this could really bring the energy of feeling nourished and held and having these emotionally fulfilling relationships with women or a group of girls. So I do want to emphasize one more time in closing that you really do need to use a variety of astrocartographic techniques to really understand holistically how the different energies are going to play out in your life on a Venus AC line or a Venus line in general, based on your natal birth chart, because everyone's birth chart is different. Also, again, look at your local space lines. Look at the current transits potentially to see what's going on with some of the slower moving planets. Look at your relocated chart. And if you have any questions, feel free to book a reading with me. My information's in the bottom below, and I will see you all again soon.